Our first nonprofit organization of the evening is Albion Fellows Bacon Center, and we have Christy Burns and Rachel Herr.
Well, thank you all so much for this wonderful opportunity to share our mission with you today. And thank you for being a part of a group that is giving back to our community. I've been looking forward to this opportunity because I love to get out into our community, meeting with people to tell the story and to share the mission of Albion Fellows Bacon Center, a local domestic and sexual violence service provider. Not only do I treasure the opportunity to share about our agency, but I am honored to be here and connect with you today. In doing this work, I realize in this very room, there are some of us who are survivors, possibly growing up in a violent household, perhaps having endured sexual assault, or have a loved one that has been impacted by domestic or sexual violence. Perhaps you're suffering in silence right now and very lonely in your struggle. Very few of us leave this world unscathed. In fact, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men have been victims of some form of physical violence by an intimate partner in their lifetime. Our agency, named for Albion Fellows Bacon, it's not just the bacon, a woman who lived here in the Evansville area and who at the time of her death in 1933 was responsible for more social legislation than any other person in Indiana, having done so even before having the right to vote. We as a group of advocates strive to live up to the standard of equality and personal excellence that she set forth. We have a vision of transforming our community's awareness of and attitude toward domestic and sexual violence into a community of advocates working to eliminate the generational cycle of abuse. Albion began in 1981 through a local grassroots effort. The sheer number of women coming forward to report being in need of safety and services drove the creation of an agency completely dedicated to serving domestic and sexual violence victims. Our mission is a mighty one: to prevent domestic and sexual violence and to empower victims through advocacy, education, support services, and collaborative partnerships. We're probably best known for our emergency shelter program. We currently have 9 rooms with 36 beds. Our clients and their children can stay with us up to 45 days and while with us work with a residential program advocate from the point of entry to create goals and safety plans that will help them achieve empowerment and sustainability. We recently had a woman in her 60s that finally decided to leave her abusive husband. She had lived in fear most of her adult life. One day she came to our advocate with tears in her eyes and said, "I want to thank you so much for helping me and for giving me a safe place to be." Then she got so excited and she said, "I was able to pull a book off the bookshelf today and read it. And I haven't been able to do that since I was a child because books weren't allowed in our home." Stories like her are commonplace in our work and are what drive me and our dedicated staff to continue our diligent work every day. Our child advocate works with the parent and the children staying in our shelter to help them develop the assets necessary for a healthy upbringing. There was a mother in our shelter with her 5 young children, and she shared the story of what happened to bring them to us. Her oldest child, a 13-year-old son, made the call that resulted in them being brought to our shelter. That evening, when Dad came home, Mom knew that things were going to get bad. She asked the son to take his 4 younger siblings to the bedroom. When the violence erupted, the young boy came out of the room, and Mom was able to toss him the cell phone. He went back to protect his siblings and called 911. The next day in shelter, he came back from school and went to the kitchen where his mother was speaking with one of our advocates. With fear, hurt, and tears in his eyes, he began rubbing his mother's shoulders and he asked her, "Mama, did I do the right thing?" Here he was in shelter with his father in jail and his siblings away from their home, and he wanted to make sure they were all safe. But he also just wanted to be a 13-year-old boy. His mother and our advocate were able to assure him that he did make the right decision. And we were able to provide him and his siblings with one-on-one advocacy and the opportunity to be children, to play in our playground, to do their homework in peace, knowing they were all safe. Essentially, we meet our clients where they are in crisis and walk throughout as a partner, building relationships. We know that leaving isn't an easy process. In fact, when a victim decides to leave is when they are most at risk of violence and death. On average, a woman will leave 7 to 11 times before leaving for good. So we must strive to create a responsive, non-judgmental, trusting relationship with that victim, being there each and every time the need arises. Last year, we provided 9,527 nights of shelter to 488 adults and 202 children. And all of the services we provide are free of charge. That includes meals, essential care items, clothing, one-on-one advocacy, and case management. But if we were just a shelter, we wouldn't be doing our job. Our non-residential, very robust program served 3,242 individuals in 2017. These are individuals that need our services but don't require shelter. In fact, only approximately 2 to 4% of victims ever seek or request shelter. This is why we must be more than a shelter. We are the only agency in Southern Indiana designated as a rape crisis center, the only agency in the immediate area with a dedicated outreach program taking our services into 11 counties. We're first responders with a dedicated 24-hour crisis response program, 365 days a year, responding to victims immediately after the crisis in emergency rooms and working with law enforcement agencies. We're a certified training provider facility providing priceless training to officers in the field and providing assessment strategy to medical personnel and schools. Our primary prevention program educates youth in middle and high schools about dating violence and family violence in our effort to break the cycle of abuse. Our community has seen a rise in the reported cases of human trafficking. These individuals are exploited for sex and or labor through the use of force, fraud, or coercion. In 2017, our agency served 17 victims of sex trafficking here in Evansville. On my very first day in my role at Albion, I entered our shelter doors to be greeted by an adorable baby girl, 1-year-old. She toddled up to me and carried on a full jabber-filled conversation. My heart was later broken to find out the reason her and her very young mother were in our shelter. Her mother was a sex trafficking victim that had been brought to Evansville by her trafficker from another state. The trafficker was using the baby as leverage to keep her in bondage. She was in the car with him when stopped at an intersection. She was able to get her baby and get out of the car. Passers-by helped her and she was taken to one of our partner agencies, Holly's house, before coming to us. We were able to provide her and the baby all the essential items they would need and help them get back to their family in their home state. At the heart of what we do every day, providing crisis intervention, prevention education, provision of shelter, compassionate programming to victims of abuse, we recognize and rely on our partnerships to not only help accomplish our mission, but to sustain our future. And we can't do this alone. That's why community support is so meaningful. To put a cost to what we do and what your support tonight could mean for those we serve, please consider that it costs $100 to provide just one night of shelter to a victim fleeing violence. $150 provides safety plans for 3 children, and $500 provides 10 hours of case management to a victim. And with your help, we can continue to provide these vital services to thousands of victims fleeing violence in our community. So on behalf of our board and staff, I say thank you for the opportunity to share our mission with you this evening. Thank you for choosing to spotlight Albion when there are countless community agencies just as worthy. I'm humbled by the invitation to join you this evening, and inspired by your group's desire to raise funds and awareness in our community. Be proud of your giving today. Be powerful going forward. Be advocates in your realm of influence, and know that we consider you to be a valued part of our community of advocates. Thank you.